Among the many achievements of Monster Hunter World, one of the smaller ones that I've come to really appreciate is the introduction of Endemic Life. In the past, we always had simple names with small descriptions on items we could capture or harvest from a couple of spots on the map. But World brought in life forms that weren't just large monsters overly determined to end us, or smaller ones ganging up but inevitably getting in our way, but plenty of easily underappreciated smaller fauna that is so crucial in an ecosystem. I have already spoken about some of the endemic life species from Monster Hunter Rise and their various legendary origins, but today we're going to be taking a look at World. But which creature? Most of World's endemic life were very realistic. Well, realistic in that they were inspired by life forms that can be found in our world, albeit with alterations and exaggerated features perhaps. Certainly more restrained than the sea-stack-sized monk snail or the lava-bathing hellbill. Fortunately for my purposes, there is one form of endemic life that is a reference and even directly inspired by real-world myth and legend. And it's quite a bizarre one as well. You might not believe this, but they are incredibly dangerous, and they're described by some as the Japanese Yeti or Bigfoot. And it's this pudgy little snake, the Tsukinoko. Tsukinoko are a sort of snake yokai, their legends most predominantly coming from the smallest of the main four Japanese islands, Shikoku, and some stories from the Kantai region as well. They are odd creatures in many ways. Many yokai stem from one weird aspect. They act as an explanation for something unknown or odd, like the sound of a rock being thrown in a forest when you are the only one there, or strange lights you see in swamps and marshes when you walk late at night. Whilst in the West many phenomena were placed at the feet of witchcraft and devils, in Japan it was some new form of yokai whose name would often relate to the oddity in question and which seemingly exist only to cause it. But then we have yokai like the Tsukinoko, Oni and Tengu with multiple features. The first oddity about Tsukinoko is their shape, being best described as fat, with a midsection wider than their heads. Indeed, their name means wood mallet child, which comes from the fact that their bodies supposedly resemble a traditional hammer or mallet head without a handle attached. But this is just one of the numerous odd features. They supposedly possess eyelids of all things, which may not seem too odd to the layperson, but as any keeper of reptiles or herpetologist will tell you, snakes don't have eyelids whatsoever. Tsukinoko also do not hiss, but instead squeak, can snore, are fond of drinking alcoholic sake, can bite their tail and roll around as a form of locomotion, and may even be the first recorded being as being able to perform a video game-style double jump. To do this latter feat, they supposedly coil themselves up or compress, not unlike an accordion, and release all of the tension to propel themselves, a feat which I'm sure any physicist will tell you is frankly impossible. They are also both highly elusive, and their bite is highly venomous, about as deadly as a viper's in fact. But whatever the case, as you can see, Tsukinoko are pretty bizarre. Rather than just being one legend, they have plenty of versions with differences between them. Rather impressive for a pudgy snake. But what's this I mentioned earlier about being the Japanese Yeti or Bigfoot? Well, somehow this pudgy snake has caught public imagination in recent years, with the Tsukinoko reel meme and continuing reports of live sightings. It's reached the point that the government of Yoshi in Okayama offered up the equivalent to a $100,000 reward for capturing one, and the town of Itoigawa in Niigata Prefecture organized a Tsukinoko hunt with $1 million reward for anyone who could capture a live specimen. The Tsukinoko of World is a species of endemic life plenty of players may never even know exists without the assistance of the internet, because they are located in hard-to-find places during a mission that incentivizes you not to explore, but rather focus on doing damage to the several hundred tons of golden annoyed elder dragon that is its focus. But these pudgy endemic life can be found in El Dorado, hiding underneath rocks, cannons, and boxes inside the golden caverns as part of the strange ecosystem there. I think it's fair to say that for the most part one can immediately see the similarities between how Tsukinoko are described and how they've been implemented into the game. I'm in awe of the absolute pudginess of these snakes. The length is also approximately correct, with Tsukinoko often described as being between 30 to 80 centimeters long. Admittedly, measuring things in Monster Hunter has always been a difficult task, seeing as official notes place plenty of monsters as the same length as a blue whale, but I think we can eyeball our snaky friend here and place him or her somewhere in this territory. The game itself places their size not far off, or a little larger as well. The only oddity to the design are these little fins at the base of the tail, which, according to the World Art Book, are used to aid in locomotion. Quite why this is a feature, I've no idea. Unfortunately, the Tsukinoko in-game lack many of the odd features of their real-world folkloric equivalents, such as the ability to double jump or roll around by biting their tail. Whilst the in-game Tsukinoko doesn't locomote in these ways, it's noticed to have a very elastic and stretchy skin, which may be a reference to the legends if nothing else. But it would appear they do exist as a legend in the world of Monster Hunter as well, with the creature description noting that the chief ecologist has heard fairy tales about Tsukinoko before, occupying a similar level of elusiveness as the bristly crake, much as they do in the real world. Part of me likes to imagine entire expeditions and bounties being put up for the Tsukinoko in the old and new world, with wanted posters right next to the ones describing rampaging Monobolos and elder dragon threats, right next to a cartoon image of a chubby snake. As for whether the in-game Tsukinoko have venom, it's unfortunately impossible to tell, as these little pudges much prefer flight over fight. They very well may possess lethal viper-like venom, and it's good that they cannot inflict grave poison on the hunter. But it would be interesting if there was some note about it somewhere in the game or art book. Unfortunately, our information is very limited. And there you have it, the bizarre, adorable, pudgy Tsukinoko of Monster Hunter World, and its real-world inspiration. I love these little guys. Watch them slowly making their way throughout the hunter's room always brings a smile to my face between hunts. And whilst I wish Capcom had done a little bit more with them, I'm happy just to have them as something of an endemic life hunter. Hopefully you found this video interesting, but until next time, happy hunting everyone.